Welcome to episode 1 of the GN Tech podcast. In episode 1, I'm going to be speaking to Swithin D'Silva, who's the head of smart devices for Yango Group. The smart devices that Yango Group have brought to the market represent the tip of the spear, not just with the physical device, but more importantly, what's in that device. Yango Yasmina is the personification that represents a strategy that Yango Group have pursued for ultra hyper localization. And we'll be speaking about why that's so important and the value that allows them to deliver with the products that they have brought to this market.
Thank you very much, Chris. My pleasure being here with you.
How does it feel being sat here at the table with Yango Yasmina?
Absolutely. It's my pleasure, and Yasmina, it's a pleasure to be here.
I feel like we've got 3 guests in this podcast. There's 2 of us sat here and then she's watching us.
Absolutely. You can see her eyes twinkling as well.
Yeah. Well, you and I both know, and we will unpack in the dialogue in this podcast, what Yango Yasmina is capable of and everything that it's taken to put your organisation in a position where you can bring the value of Yango Yasmina to the UAE and to the region, and actually the footprint that Yango Group has got globally. Let's start a little bit with yourself. I think it's important that people understand who you are, what your accountabilities are, and we'll also touch on Yango Group as well, because it's a fascinating brand with not just a number of market-facing products that are amazing, but also some of the things you've described about the culture as well. Pretty modern looking brand. What's your role within the organisation?
In Yango, I head the smart devices business for the MENA region. And I've been there with them for almost 1.5 years now. And it's been an amazing ride so far.
Yeah, absolutely. Smart devices can mean so many things now. I mean, even if we look at the smart speaker range that you guys have got, I walked into a store in Dubai this weekend to look at purchasing a Yango Yasmina for myself. And you've got quite a range there, right, on the shelf.
Yeah, how was your experience? What did you feel?
First of all, I was visually arrested at the difference in physical size and then the wattage output of the Max and the Mini. But it was good, and actually what I was impressed by was the familiarity of the person that served me and the different functionality. What really interested me was how they were able to articulate how this product and what Yasmina facilitates is a gateway into the digital ecosystem that Yango have built, Yango Play, all of the different things.
Absolutely, Chris. I think you touched upon it, and I'm going to say that Yango, the ecosystem and the Yango Group basically has a culture of going local, right? Local is what we call it out here. So thinking global but going local. And all the services and businesses that we run, this is something which is ingrained in the DNA of everybody.
Yeah.
And in our business as well, from the localization point of view, the teams that we have got domain expertise, are trained on a regular basis, and understand exactly what we need to impart to the consumer as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I want to talk about what Yango Yasmina represents when it comes to all of the different things that Yango are doing. Massive horizon of different propositions and products, but then how the tip of the spear now in terms of being present and the heartbeat of homes across the UAE is really important. Yango Drive, Yango Maps, Yango Play, Yango Yasmina, Yango Pay, Yango Tac, Yango Ads, and the list goes on. I've only just touched on the kind of market-facing ones. There's also Yango Ventures, $20 million fund.
Right.
Describe to me how Yango Yasmina fits in as the tip of the spear when it comes to the market-facing representation of so many of these different things, because it's such a smart device.
Absolutely. So Yango Yasmina is basically the AI assistant which lives and resides in the smart devices business. For us, these are the smart speakers which range from lights, minis, midi and max. More important, she's a very humanesque companion, and our vision is always to have her in every smart home, and more importantly in every home in the MENA region.
And that's going to be an interesting one as well, because one of the things that I've been thinking in the run-up to this interview is what ambitions you harbour when it comes to something that you see everywhere in Dubai, which is construction, smart cities, both commercial and residential. Everywhere you look in Dubai, construction is happening, and the kind of value that smart devices bring to those environments is incomprehensible, to be honest, when it comes to the art of the possible in the future, because it's just emerging now.
Yeah, and Chris, you hit upon a really important point. So, as part of our social media outreach, we work with a lot of social media creators, right? One of them, in fact, had a brilliant post about Yasmina, and the management of a large real estate development company saw it. She understood what it meant to her. She went down to Virgin Megastore. She saw the product, experienced it, and now we're having some amazing conversations on what we can do in the smart home environment in the developer space.
Yeah.
So that just goes to say,
I think that's one of the
it's
things.
Limitless. It's unlimited, in fact.
Yeah. One of the things about Dubai, UAE, and the Middle East, I think nowadays, is that there is such appetite to meet the demand, and that the spirit of the art of the possible. I think Dubai really personifies that, and anecdotes like that are the proof points behind the fact that that is the case every day. Let's just step back a little bit, because we're both excited about this topic. There's a risk that we dive too quickly into it and don't bring people on the journey. What is Yango Yasmina? How would you describe it to somebody that's never heard of it, never seen it, didn't even know that Yango have got smart speakers?
Sure. The consumer gets into experiencing the product, experiencing smart home capabilities, and multiple other functions. I mean, we've tested it out, and people are using this in day-to-day scenarios, Chris. In the morning, you say, Yasmina, at 7 o'clock in the morning, I'd like my cup of coffee.
Yeah.
And at 7 o'clock in the morning, promptly, she will have the coffee machine trigger out a response, and you have your coffee ready as you are there right now, right? Wow. People work in the day, so they say at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, can you get the pet feeder to kind of, can you get the pet feeder to work and for the pet? And 2 o'clock at clockwork, the pet feeder will feed your pet.
I remember 10 years ago, 15 years ago, when the concept, probably 15 years ago, when IoT as an acronym emerged.
Right.
And now here we are sitting at a table with the product that facilitates what that concept was when it was just being spoken about.
Right. And you have so many smart devices in your home, right? But for us to get it right, we wanted to have a device which has a heart. Mm-hmm. And that is the whole premise of Yasmina, right? A humanesque companion, so that people can actually converse with her. And we've seen this several times. The adults in the home, they have their Yasmina. That's really, really elating to hear.
Yeah. There's so many organizations that want to come into this region.
Right.
I think if you look globally, this region is one that is perceived by many organizations as an attractive region to come into. I don't think many of those organizations look towards the localization, the hyper-personalization for the region that you guys have pursued in the development of this product. Why is that so important as a signature to the Yango style of bringing products into the region and realizing them?
Perfect. So the initial time when we decided to come into the region, MENA region was not an afterthought. It was the main thought. So we said, when we come in, we're going to localize, and we're going to really localize the product with cultural relevance, intuitiveness, etc., which will resonate with the people of this part of the world.
Yeah.
So it took us 2 years, Chris. We've hundreds of people across the GCC region have worked on the language. We had linguists, we had professors, we had people with specific expertise in the cultural sensitivities, historical significances, working on Yasmina to bring her to where she is today. In addition to that, we finally had to get into a studio, because we realized the voice of Yasmina was going to be really important, right?
Yeah.
So we had, it was like virtually like a Hollywood kind of a casting happening. And then finally we got the right person who was, full of life, bubbly, empathetic, sassy as well. And that's how the voice of Yasmina is now. And she's
you
a celebrity.
literally did that like a casting session?
Absolutely.
How many people applied? Can you remember?
Hundreds. It was a big thing, and she's a celebrity in her own right now. But
wow.
Yeah, it was amazing.
Yeah.
So that's how Yasmina kind of formed. It took us 2 years. We could have just translated, but you get so much lost in translation. And in the Middle East, the culture of the place.
It must have felt as well.
Absolutely. And we made sure it's a bilingual product, so it's in English and Arabic as well. and various features keep dropping onto the smart speakers as we speak. So as we discussed earlier, it's when you talk about buying a speaker and you talk about buying a smart speaker, that's where the key difference is. So when we came into this region, we said we have to build the category right from scratch. So for us, honestly, there are no competition. We want to build it right from scratch, and we want to do it the right way. That's why it took us so long.
Yeah, just from the notes of us talking and preparing for this, it reminds me of something that we really enjoyed talking about before we turned the cameras on,
Right.
which was around the nuances of cultural intelligence and the importance of that as well, anywhere,
Right.
but especially in this region, because you've got that within the family, you've got that within the home, but you've got that, it's really important because there's so many different cultures as well. How do you build in cultural intelligence when you're trying to realize the kind of vision that Yango have got for Yasmina?
Right. So this started off right when we were localizing the product. And I remember this time because the discussion was about launching. And I was on a holiday at a resort in Bali. But we had to have this call. And the conversations we had about it, and everyone was so aligned that the cultural sensitivities of the Middle East, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's so important. I mean, the family orientedness nature, people, the way they go about, the way things are evolving in terms of how people are for this part of that took us time to kind of understand. And when we said we'll come in, we'll get it right the first time itself. So Yasmina, to tell you about, when she speaks, when you ask a question, she can tell you about the UAE national anthem. She can tell you about the Gulf tree, for example, the colors. So she's very culturally attuned. And especially in times like Ramadan or even other times, you have prayer reminders. You have in the Yango Play Super App, we have 30 reciters which kind of appeal to everyone who's wanting to listen to the Quran or the azans and things like that.
Yeah, absolutely. We're talking about LLMs,
Right.
AI, being able to piece together all of these different parts of the mosaic of somebody's life. Let's not underplay the importance of the speaker, the physical element of this whole stack as well. What's your interpretation of how important the actual speaker is as part of this ecosystem, this device ecosystem that Yango is bringing into people's homes?
Right. So we have great domain expertise in this business, but certain colors, certain textures, ambient lighting for the speaker as well. So when she's thinking about something or analyzing or giving you, there's a certain light. When she's offline, there's a certain light. So these are the small things, but detailed. We went into detail about these things to make sure that, because the speaker is finally in somebody's home, so they wanted it look nice, it should be aesthetic. At the same time, the acoustics have to be fantastic.
Yeah.
So all these points of view we've kind of combined to make sure that we bring the best product to light.
Yeah. I remember I've had a guest on my podcast before from an organisation that we could say is on the competitive horizon when it comes to connected TV and devices in the home.
Right.
What does this represent when it comes, it sounds as though you really explored the nuances of what this represents in people's home,
right?
Where their family live. What were those conversations like when you were trying to crystallize your vision for what you wanted it to be in people's home as a digital device?
So the dream was always to have Yasmina in multiple homes, in connected homes, but more important to be part of as a companion itself. And the smart speaker business, we like to see that we understand that people love to hear music. That's where our Yango Play ecosystem comes into play, where you have millions of hours of content, TV as well as shows, movies, etc. like that. So in our environment, the speaker has to be part of the home, and people have to interact with it and should be very comfortable with it. So that's came a lot of the 2 years we spent time developing the product, getting the correct people in place. I think that has really helped for people to kind of evolve and use Yasmina regularly. In fact, Chris, in some homes you have 2 devices or 3 devices.
Yeah, absolutely.
And when you connect them together, the kind of sound quality, etc., is exceptional as well.
Yeah. How does Yasmina interact differently with different generations within the home in the kind of example that you've just mentioned?
So in a home environment, Yasmina, when she's seen, etc., it's the go-to kind of a product, right?
Yeah.
You have so many other apps on, but when you have a device which is part of your home, which is part of the ecosystem,
Yeah.
which people trust and kind of go to her for advice, that's where we see these interactions really, interesting interactions. A friend of ours, in fact, told us about a grandmother in Abu Dhabi, and she asked Yasmina for a recipe, and the recipe which she gave was so authentic that the lady said in Arabic, "My daughter." That's how she addressed her.
You've shared other anecdotes as we've spoken over the last few weeks as well that really are proof points to me on how you've engineered something that engenders trust with people. And that's interesting because a lot of the conversation with AI and the skeptics would, there's a reticence, there's a reluctance to bring AI and assistance in. But, you guys are demonstrating that through functionality with education as well. Yasmina is almost earning the right to get close to the people that you've designed her to bring value to.
Absolutely, Chris. We've had some interesting conversations with a few of the ministries of education in GCC countries as well, some schools and large schools as well. And in one of the interactions, in fact, the principal, he called in a couple of students, and the students interacted with Yasmina, and they asked her things like, what is nuclear physics? And she gave you a textbook example of what is nuclear physics, or for example, cloud seeding. And a simple thing to break down a concept, we of course taught them how to engineer the prompt, and they said, what is the meaning for a 5-year-old? And then she explained it in such layperson's language that everybody understood it. And that struck, in fact, a couple of teachers. They said, wow, this would be amazing to have this product in our classroom as a helper.
Yeah.
To be part of the education system.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
it makes so much sense. How does Yasmina interact with children? If I think of a household,
right,
different generations, it's really important, and potentially the generation that can get most value from Yasmina are the kids.
Yes.
Right? From an entertainment perspective, but also educationally. But there's a kind of custodian accountability in that sense that Yasmina needs to be able to embrace and honour in how she interacts with children.
Right.
How do you do that?
Absolutely. You know how it is.
Digital
you have
natives.
Your kids, right?
Yeah,
they just
3
take it
little
on
boys.
as long as it's a normal conversation, and they start conversing with Yasmina, asking so many different parts of things. But maths, English, Arabic, of course, any of the geography, history, the subjects, and she can go in depth with facts as well as with information as well.
We live in a part of the world where 90% of the population are expats.
Right.
And we hear different, not just cultural dialects, but languages all of the time. As a British guy, I'm interested, and I've explored Italian. I did German at school, Spanish, etc. But when I was researching Yasmina, the opportunity for Yasmina to educate whoever at whatever age on languages as well is something that she's equally as fluent at doing as the recipe for the grandmother.
Absolutely, Chris. Translation feature dropped about a couple of weeks back onto the devices, and the 190 nationalities that live in this country, when they start understanding that Arabic, they would love to learn Arabic. You can do it in the comfort of your home, simple language. At least you will get a little sense of the language.
Yeah.
And this is where we see a great.
What are the ambitions that you harbour when it comes to the wider horizon of value? Because although we're talking about a whole spectrum of amazing features and functions, I still feel like you're at fairly embryonic days when it comes to the possibilities that come with something like this and the way that this region moves. Where's your vision? So, for example, in property, residential, commercial, smart cities you've mentioned.
Right. I think, as you write, we're just scratching the surface of the iceberg, because in real estate development, for example, developers across the region, if you have once you have a device like Yasmina, which can actually turn on and turn off the lighting systems, the curtains, so many other features, right? You can even integrate it into building management solutions. Uh, this is just one part of the use cases that we are having conversations with. There are telecom operators, for example, that we're talking about, which the capabilities of Yasmina to get into the smart homes of their consumers. Here in the UAE itself, you have 1.5 million smart homes, interconnected devices, and so that's another conversation. Education is another part of it. So these are the various opportunities which are arising, and more coming up.
The opportunity to accelerate market penetration is hard to comprehend.
Right.
I think there's so many different things that not only Yasmina represents, the speaker represents, but then the Yango Group behind that. It's crazy. I want to get nerdy for a second with you, Swithin, because I think part of the audience that are motivated to follow this podcast will want to know this. When it comes to the tech, what's behind the curtain?
There's a lot, Chris. There's a lot happening behind it. So whilst we are on the device and the devices, and we are wrapped around, of course, the super app, that's Yango Play, a consumer can actually get onto a Bluetooth mode and kind of play their own music as well if they need to. But at the same time, they can access all the different services that we have in Yango Play, the digital content, the music, the television as well as the to pair their devices with other devices in the ecosystem, smart home ecosystem. So as I mentioned to you earlier, the pet feeder, robotic vacuum cleaner, that happens with the tech which is under the hood, basically.
Yeah. I was going to ask you about that,
right.
So then, because you dropped a comment earlier in the podcast where you spoke about features, functionality, downloads, upgrades to the devices.
Right.
Does that happen? You push that to the device, and then there's a complementary marketing campaign around the extra features and functionality?
Absolutely. So that goes hand in hand. We keep updating devices and updating the latest features onto the devices, so that the consumer keeps getting surprised by something new, which we're kind of helping him. Last time it was the maths feature a couple of months back, where you can talk to Yasmina and actually ask multiple questions in maths, and she gives you a perfect answer, right? So I think that keeps the customers engaged, and that's important for us as well.
Internally, how do you guys measure Yasmina's intelligence? Because this is obviously, an LLM is learning all the time.
Right.
It's getting input, it's getting all of the rich, varied texture of input that a device in this region would. What are you looking at internally when it comes to the growth of the asset at the heart of Yasmina?
Right. So for that, we have the Yango AI suite, and that tech is developed on a regular basis to make sure that the LLM itself develops even further. And from analysis that we have, we can understand how important it is to kind of update and to make sure that the relevance of the product always remains and exceeds the customer's expectations. So that's something that we take it very seriously. We have a complete team involved taking care of this.
Yeah. Have you felt in the evolution, from concept through to where you are now, with very genuine, tangible market presence, that the culture within the team, it must have been super exciting in the 2 years where you were building everything, then you've got the moment of the product launch. What's the culture of the team internally as you see something that you've created start to evolve and blossom?
I think culture within the team, Chris, we've had, when we talk about localization, I think in our team itself, we have 100+ years of expertise in the region. That's to give you an idea of how connected we are with the business itself. Yeah. But apart from that, things like we were in Dubai Mall a couple of weeks back, and we saw a little girl at the Virgin stand, and she was chatting with the speaker. And then she told her parents, she said, my Yasmina is talking in whispers with me. And they were smiling, right? Because we have a feature called Whisper feature, where you whisper to Yasmina and she whispers back to you.
Wow.
Right. So, and that's really where I think business leaders, marketers want to see consumers so happy that, that word of mouth publicity will spread. And actually, we can change people's lives by this kind of technology.
Yeah, absolutely. It's interesting because quite often when we look at tech products, it's the small difference that makes a big difference. And that particular story about the interaction that Yasmina has with that little girl's life The whisper feature
Right.
is of the whole product set,
Right.
small thing.
Right.
But that's what that little girl remembers and talks about.
Exactly. I mean, she could have remembered fairy tales. She could have, because Yasmina tells fairy tales, or you can ask her to tell you a story about Chris, and she will tell you a story about Chris. And if you want it to be about a particular, topic like Chris and, for example, his game of golf, she will tell you a story about Chris and his brilliant game of golf.
There's a few people with stories about my golf. You might be one of them one day.
One day, one day, Chris.
I think it's absolutely amazing. I want to talk about, now you're at this stage.
Right.
You've got a number of different ambitions, a massive horizon to pursue. How do you make the decision about what to do next with a product like this? I mean, when you've got so many options, part of the problem is that there are so many options. What is it? Further integration into daily life? Is it to integrate into governmental or regulatory type thing? I mean, how do you have those conversations internally when you're choosing the magnetic north for the next stage of the journey?
Right. So in the phase that we are right now, for the first year, we were building the brand, we were building the product, making sure that she was culturally attuned, and so far it's been brilliant. Next stage for us is to make out use cases which are coming in and the discussions we are having, to customize those use cases and actually populate them to multiple areas of business. Like, as you said, government is another big opportunity for us, and discussions are underway. Telecom operators, real estate developers, education. And these are the areas where we believe we can really touch people's lives and make a significant change in a consumer's life.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's an amazing opportunity to step into spaces where the necessary regulatory environments might prove to be intimidating for other brands. Let's just not go there. It's too complicated. It's
Right.
regulated.
Yeah.
All of that sort of stuff. But, what I see with the way that you guys operate is the opposite. Absolutely the appetite to go and have the conversation with the telco operator or the government department and become part of the fabric of their ambitions, a facilitation tool.
Absolutely, Chris. And the reason why we chose UAE as the market to launch, because UAE is the window to the Middle East. And you can see the AI ambitions of the country. I mean, we're talking about the top 1-2 places in the world right now.
Yeah.
Right. And whenever the government makes a decision about where they want to go, they make sure they're there in advance, in fact.
Yeah.
So I think we like what we're seeing out here, and we want to evolve more and more in terms of the AI businesses here.
I'm going to ask you a final question, and it's a personal one about your relationship with Yasmina and this chapter of your life and career. If you had to describe Yasmina now in one sentence, how would you do it? What would that sentence be?
I think it would dovetail into the UAE's AI ambition of 2031 to be the foremost player in this business. And for me, I would think Yasmina would be the artificial intelligent heartbeat of the MENA region.
It's been amazing having the opportunity to do this podcast with you, Swithin. I wish you all the best for whatever happens next with Yasmina. I will be watching what happens with Yango Group, because I'm sure there's more innovative stuff up your sleeve. But thank you for being the guest on the GN Tech podcast.
Thank you so much, Chris. It's been a pleasure. Totally a pleasure. Thank you so much.